The star charts floated in the air like glowing rivers of light. Zixel moved her feathered hands through the holographic display, tracing routes between distant worlds. She had been a cartographer for only 3 cycles, but she loved her work. Every day brought new patterns to discover, new shortcuts to map across the vast darkness of space. Today felt different. Today she had found something incredible. "Look at this," Zixel said to her colleague Morn. She pulled up 2 star systems on the display. "If we route through this sector, we cut 40% off the travel time between the outer markets and the core worlds." Morn, a stocky being covered in gray scales, leaned closer. His eyes widened. That would change everything. "Trading ships could—" He stopped. His face went pale. "Zix, where exactly does that route go?" "Through here." She expanded the map, showing a region of space marked only with basic stellar data. "It's empty. No stations, no claims, just open space around a yellow star. We've never mapped it properly." Morn stepped back from the display as if it had burned him. "Delete that route now." "What? Why? Just do it. And don't tell anyone else what you found." But Zixel was young and curious. She had spent years learning to find patterns where others saw nothing. She was not going to delete her best discovery because Morn looked scared. "I'm taking this to the Guildmaster." Morn grabbed her arm. "Please don't. You don't understand." She pulled away and left the mapping room, carrying her data chip. The Guildmaster would understand. The Guildmaster always supported good work. The Guildmaster's office sat at the top of the station, with windows that looked out at the stars. Guildmaster Theron was old, even for a Kreoth. His feathers had turned white, and his eyes carried the weight of many years. He looked up when Zixel entered. "I found a new route," she said, proud and excited. She placed the data chip on his desk. "It will revolutionize trade in 3 sectors." Theron picked up the chip. He inserted it into his computer and studied the route. For a long moment he said nothing. Then his hands began to shake. "Where did you find this?" His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "In the old survey data. No one had cross-referenced those sectors before. You went near the yellow star." It was not a question. "Well, the route passes within a few light years, but—" Theron stood up so quickly his chair fell backward. He pulled up the route on his own display and immediately marked it with a red symbol. A symbol Zixel had never seen before. "This route is forbidden. This data is classified. You will speak of this to no one, but why? It's just empty space around an unremarkable star. There's nothing there." "There is something there," Theron said. His voice was heavy with an emotion Zixel could not identify. "And we do not go near it ever." "What's there? A black hole? A spatial anomaly?" Theron sat down slowly. He suddenly looked very, very old. "Something worse. Something that made the mightiest empire in galactic history turn and run. Something that made every species in the galaxy agree on one thing: stay away." Zixel felt cold. In all her studies of galactic history, she had never heard of such a place. "I don't understand." 800 years ago, that yellow star was marked on every map as a curiosity. A young species lived there. They had just begun to reach their own moon. The Vrax Empire decided to claim the system. It should have been simple. The Vrax had conquered 1,000 worlds. "The Vrax are extinct," Zixel said. Everyone knew that. The Vrax Empire had collapsed centuries ago, though no one knew exactly why. "Yes," Theron said. "They are. And it started at that yellow star." He pulled up old records from the archive. Files so old they were barely compatible with modern systems. The Vrax sent a fleet, 300 ships. They expected the natives to surrender or die. Instead, he opened a file marked with warning symbols. Zixel read the report. It was written in old Vrax battle code, but the translation was clear enough. The Vrax fleet had entered the system. They had sent a message demanding surrender. The natives had responded by destroying the lead ship with primitive nuclear weapons. "They fought back," Zixel said. "That's not so unusual. Many species resist at first and keep reading." She did. The next reports were confusing. The Vrax had landed troops on the native world. The natives had fought with simple projectile weapons and explosives. They should have been easy to defeat. But they were not. The natives adapted to every Vrax tactic within days. They captured Vrax technology and figured out how to use it. They took Vrax weapons and made them better. They turned Vrax strategies against the Vrax themselves. One report described a native who had been captured and implanted with Vrax control technology. The native had somehow broken free of the control, removed the technology from his own body while still alive, and used it to hack into the Vrax command network. Another described natives who had learned to fly captured Vrax fighters in less than a week. "This can't be real," Zixale said. "No species adapts this fast." "They do," Theron said. "They are called humans. And they don't just adapt, they improvise. They create, they refuse to give up, even when giving up is the only logical choice." The final report in the file was from the Vrax fleet commander. It was short. "We are leaving this system. We have lost 60% of our forces. The natives have captured 17 of our ships. They are reverse engineering our FTL drives. If we stay, they will learn to follow us home. Recommend immediate quarantine of this system. The species designation is humanity. Threat level, extreme." Zixale looked up at Theron. "But that was 800 years ago. Surely they've changed. Surely they're not still—" "We don't know," Theron said. "We've been monitoring their radio transmissions from a safe distance. They tell stories about creatures from the stars coming to invade them. They've been preparing for 800 years for someone to come back. They've built weapons we can't even understand from their broadcasts. They've split the atom, mapped their own genetics, built thinking machines. Then why don't we just talk to them? Explain that we come in peace?" Theron pulled up one more file. It was a census of species that had gone near the yellow star in the past 800 years. 17 species had sent ships, scout vessels mostly, just curious. None had ever returned. "We believe the humans have a defense network around their system now," Theron said. "They destroy anything that comes close. They don't ask questions. They don't negotiate. They simply protect their home." Zixale felt her feathers rise in fear. "So we just avoid them? Forever? Until they come to us, yes. And we hope that when they do, they've learned peace. Because if they haven't—" Theron closed the files. "If they haven't, then the galaxy will face something it has never faced before. A species that treats survival as a challenge to overcome with any means necessary." He handed the data chip back to Zixale. "Delete your route. Forget you found it. And pray to whatever powers you believe in that the humans stay where they are." Zixale left the office with the data chip feeling heavy in her hand. She returned to her station and deleted the route. But she could not delete what she had learned. Somewhere in the galaxy, around a yellow star, humanity lived. And the entire galaxy had agreed on one thing: leave them alone. That night, Zixale looked up at the stars from the observation deck. Somewhere out there, billions of humans lived their lives, not knowing that the galaxy knew exactly where they were, not knowing that their address was the most famous coordinate in galactic space, the most famous and the most feared. The salvage ship Broken Promise drifted through the empty sector, its sensors sweeping for anything valuable. Captain Venn stood on the bridge, all four of his arms crossed as he studied the scanner display. 3 months in deep space and they had found nothing but rocks and dust. "Contact," said Risha, the sensor operator. Her antenna twitched with excitement. "Big signature, dead ahead. It's a ship." "A big one." Venn felt his heart beat faster. A ship this far from any trade route meant only one thing: something valuable had been abandoned or lost. "Take us closer. Weapons ready, just in case." The Broken Promise moved forward slowly. As they approached, the derelict came into view. It was massive, easily 10 times the size of their salvage vessel. The hull was dark and pitted with age, but the design was unmistakable. "By the ancestors," whispered Torg, the engineer. "That's a Vrax warship." Everyone on the bridge fell silent. The Vrax Empire had been gone for centuries, but their legends remained. They had been the greatest military power the galaxy had ever known. Their ships were said to be indestructible. "Scan for life signs," Venn ordered. "None. The ship is dead. Has been for a long time." Venn made his decision. "Boarding party." "Risha, Torg, you're with me. Kel, you have the bridge. If anything goes wrong, you run. Don't wait for us." They suited up and took the shuttle across to the derelict. The ship's hull was scarred with weapons fire, but none of the damage had penetrated to the core. The ship had died from the inside, not from attack. They found an airlock and forced it open. Inside, emergency lights flickered weakly. The air was long gone, but the ship's system still had minimal power. "This is incredible," Torg said, running his scanner over the walls. "This technology is 800 years old and it's still more advanced than ours." They moved through the corridors. Bodies floated in the zero gravity. Wrack soldiers frozen in death, their faces locked in expressions of terror. Whatever had killed them had come fast. The bridge should be this way, Risha said, checking her map. They found the bridge. It was enormous, built for a crew of 50. Command stations sat empty. At the center was the captain's throne, and in it sat the body of a Wrack's commander still strapped in place. Ven approached the main computer. Let's see if we can access the logs. I want to know what happened here. Torg worked for an hour, carefully routing power and bypassing security. Finally, the system came online. Ancient Wrack's text scrolled across the screen. I've got the ship's final logs, Torg said. And there's security footage. A lot of it. Play it, Ven ordered. The first video showed the ship in battle, but not the kind of battle Ven expected. The enemy ships were crude, barely more than metal boxes with engines. They moved in erratic patterns, unpredictable and wild. The Wrack's weapons tore through them easily, but there were so many. What are those ships? Risha asked. Check the log timestamp, Ven said. When was this? 803 years ago. The location is... Torg stopped. His face went pale. The location is marked as Sector 871 near the quarantine zone. Ven felt cold. The quarantine zone. The place no one talked about. The place around the yellow star. Keep playing, he said quietly. The battle continued. The Wrack ship destroyed hundreds of enemy vessels, but the enemy kept coming. And they were learning. Each wave attacked differently. Each wave was harder to predict. Then the video changed. It showed the inside of the ship. Wrack soldiers ran through corridors, weapons drawn. They were hunting something. Something that had boarded their ship. The camera showed a group of soldiers cornering their target. It was a creature in a primitive spacesuit. Small, only about 2 meters tall. It carried a simple projectile weapon. One of the Wrack soldiers laughed and said something in Old Wrack's. The translation appeared at the bottom of the screen. Surrender, primitive. You cannot win. The creature did not surrender. It moved faster than Ven would have thought possible. It shot 3 soldiers before they could react, took cover behind a bulkhead and threw something. An explosive. A crude one, but effective. The blast tore through the Wrack squad. What is that thing? Risha whispered. A human, Torg said, his voice shaking. It's one of the humans. The video continued. More humans had boarded the ship. They worked in small groups, moving through the Wrack's vessel with terrifying efficiency. They set traps. They ambushed patrols. They hacked into systems using captured Wrack's technology. One video showed a human who had been wounded. Badly. It should have been dead. Instead, it had torn out a Wrack's medical implant from a dead soldier, figured out how to use it and installed it in its own body. All while under fire. That's not possible, Risha said. You can't just use alien technology like that. The biology is completely different. But the video showed it was possible. The humans made it possible. The next log entry was from the ship's commander. We have sealed the main engineering section, but the humans control decks 7 through 12. They are using our own weapons against us. They have reprogrammed 3 of our security drones. They are learning our language from captured computers. They are eating our food stores. They are breathing our air with stolen rebreathers. They are turning this ship into their ship. More videos. Wrack soldiers trying to retake their own vessel. Failing. The humans used Wrack's tactics against them, but they also used tactics the Wracks had never seen. They were creative in ways that defied prediction. One human created a weapon from spare parts and ship components. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Another human hacked the ship's gravity systems and used them as a trap, crushing an entire Wrack squad. They're insane, Ven said. They're brilliant and insane. The final log entry was short. The commander's voice was tired and broken. We are abandoning ship. The humans control everything below Deck 5. They are cutting through the bridge blast doors. We are taking the escape pods to the fleet. This ship is lost. I recommend we retreat from this system entirely. These creatures, they don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't follow the rules of war. They adapt too quickly. They improvise too well. They refuse to accept defeat even when defeat is certain. The video ended. The log ended. The salvage crew stood in silence. That's why the Wracks left, Torg said finally. That's why they abandoned the quarantine zone. The humans beat them. A primitive species with no space travel beat the greatest empire in galactic history, Risha added. Ven looked around the dead bridge. Not just beat them, terrified them. The Vrax ran away from creatures that should have been easy to conquer. What do we do with this information? Torg asked. Ben thought about it. If they brought this ship back, if they shared what they had found, it would change everything. The galaxy would know the truth. The humans were not some mysterious threat. They were a species that had fought for survival against impossible odds and won. But they would also know that humans could take Vrax technology and use it. That humans could adapt to anything. That humans never gave up. We tell the truth, Ven said. We bring this ship to the Galactic Council. They need to know what happened here. They copied the logs and began the long process of towing the derelict back to civilized space. As they worked, Ven couldn't stop thinking about the humans. 800 years ago, they had been primitive. They had no faster-than-light travel. They barely had space stations. What were they now? What had they become in 800 years of isolation? Had they built a fleet? Had they prepared for the galaxy to return? Ven looked at the stars and wondered if somewhere out there, around a yellow star, the humans were looking back. Waiting. Preparing. Ready for whatever came next. The galaxy knew where humanity lived, and now Ven understood why they kept far away. The humans were not dangerous because they were aggressive. They were dangerous because they were survivors. And survivors did whatever it took to stay alive. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast circular room with seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives from 200 species gathered here to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. Today the chamber was full. Word had spread that someone was going to propose the unthinkable. Ambassador Thelnos of the Mindrel Collective stood at the central podium. His people were known for their wisdom and their commitment to peace. They had never started a war. They had never refused contact with another species. Until today, they had never been afraid. Honored council members, Thelnos began, his voice calm and steady. I come before you to discuss a matter we have all avoided for too long. There is a species in Sector 871, around the yellow star designated Sol, that has been isolated for 800 years. I propose we end this isolation. I propose we invite humanity to join the Galactic Council. The chamber erupted. Voices rose from every tier. Some shouted in anger, others in fear, a few in agreement. The council speaker, an ancient being from the silicon-based chordal species, raised one crystalline hand. Silence fell slowly. Ambassador Thelnos, you understand what you are proposing. The quarantine around the Sol system exists for a reason. It exists by consensus. Every species agrees. Every species agrees out of fear, Thelnos replied. Fear based on events that happened 800 years ago. We have been monitoring their broadcasts for decades. They are not monsters. They create art, they write poetry, they debate philosophy, they help each other in times of crisis. They have capacity for great compassion. They also have capacity for great violence, said Representative Korm of the Threxian Dominion. His voice was harsh. We all know what they did to the Vrax. The Vrax invaded them, Thelnos countered. They defended themselves. Is that not the right of any species? An elderly representative from the Jaloth Confederation stood. Her name was Elder Syrinx, and she was one of the oldest beings on the council. I was young when the Vrax encountered the humans. Not yet in politics, but old enough to remember the reports. May I speak? The speaker nodded. The council recognizes Elder Syrinx. Syrinx walked slowly to a secondary podium. Her movements were careful, deliberate. I will tell you what the official records do not say. I will tell you what the Vrax told us in private before their empire fell. The chamber was completely silent now. The Vrax sent their first fleet to Sol, 300 ships. The humans destroyed 60% of them with primitive nuclear weapons and captured ships. The Vrax retreated. They expected that would be the end. A show of force. A warning. They were wrong. She pulled up a holographic display. It showed the Sol system with defensive installations marked around it. Within 10 years, the humans had reverse-engineered Vrax technology. They built defense stations around their world. They sent probes to explore their own solar system. They were preparing. The Vrax decided to try again. Diplomacy, they said. They sent a single ship with ambassadors. The ship was destroyed the moment it entered the system. No warning, no communication, just destruction. A murmur ran through the council. The Vrax were insulted. They sent a second invasion fleet, larger than the first. 500 ships with the best warriors in their empire. This time they did not try to occupy. They tried to eliminate humanity entirely. Orbital bombardment. Total war. Cyrix's voice grew heavy. The humans survived. Not all of them, but enough. And they were angry. They launched ships made from captured Vrax technology and their own innovations, ships that were crude but effective. They followed the Vrax fleet back to the nearest Vrax colony, and they attacked it. The council chamber exploded with noise. Shouts of disbelief, anger, fear, silence. The speaker's voice echoed. Let her finish. The humans didn't try to occupy the colony, Cyrix continued. They destroyed the military installations and left. A message. You came to our home. Now you know we can come to yours. The Vrax sent a third fleet, the largest they had ever assembled. 1,000 ships, she paused. That fleet never returned. Some escape pods were recovered months later. The survivors spoke of human ships that moved in ways that defied their understanding, of tactics that seemed impossible, of weapons that combined Vrax technology with human creativity in terrifying ways. The humans had learned. They had adapted, and they had become dangerous. The Vrax Empire never recovered from that loss, Cyrix said. They tried to hide their defeat, but word spread. Their subject species rebelled. Their allies lost faith. Within a century, the greatest empire in galactic history was gone. And it started because they made one mistake. They threatened humanity's home. Thelnos listened carefully. With respect, Elder Cyrix, that was 800 years ago. Species change. They mature. Perhaps humanity has learned peace. Perhaps, Cyrix said. Or perhaps they have spent 800 years preparing for the day we return. We have been monitoring their broadcasts, yes. But do we truly understand what they are saying? They tell stories of alien invasions constantly. They prepare their children with tales of creatures from the stars. They have split their world into nations that compete with each other, driving innovation at a pace we cannot match. They have weapons that could destroy their own planet many times over. Representative Korm stood again. I have also studied the human broadcasts. They fight among themselves constantly. They have wars over resources, territory, and beliefs. They are a violent species. They are a young species, Thelnos argued. We all went through such phases. The Threxians had global wars for 3 centuries before unifying. The Chordal almost destroyed themselves twice. Are humans not allowed the same growing period? The difference, said another representative, is that we did not have Vrax technology during our growing periods. We did not have the capacity to reach the stars while still fighting among ourselves. Humans have both primitive instincts and advanced technology. That combination is dangerous. The debate continued for hours. Representatives spoke of their own encounters with species that had been contacted too early, of civilizations that had destroyed themselves with technology they were not ready for, of first contacts that had ended in tragedy. Finally, the speaker called for order. We must vote. The proposal is to end the quarantine of the Sol system and invite humanity to join the Galactic Council. Those in favor? Thelnos raised his hand. A few others did the same. Perhaps 20 representatives out of 200. Those against? The rest of the chamber raised their hands, tentacles, and appendages. The proposal is rejected, the speaker said. The quarantine remains in effect. Thelnos stood at the podium, disappointed but not surprised. I asked the council to reconsider in the future. Isolation serves no one. Eventually, the humans will develop faster than light travel on their own. When they do, they will enter the galaxy. Would it not be better to meet them as friends rather than strangers? Elder Cyrix spoke once more. Ambassador, you are young and idealistic. These are good qualities, but you did not see what the Vrax survivors looked like when they returned. You did not hear the fear in their voices. The Vrax were warriors. They conquered 1,000 worlds, and they were afraid. She looked around the chamber. I do not know if humanity has changed. I do not know if they have learned peace. But I know this, if we contact them, we must be prepared for any response. And I do not believe the galaxy is ready for that. The council session ended. Representatives filed out slowly, speaking in hushed voices. Thelnos remained at the podium, looking at the star charts that floated above. Somewhere on those charts was a small yellow star, and around that star humanity waited. That night, Thelnos returned to his quarters and composed a message he would never send but that he felt he must write. It was addressed to the humans, though he knew they would never receive it. To the people of Earth, he wrote, We know you are there. We know where you live. We have watched from afar for 800 years. We are afraid of you. Not because you are evil, but because you are strong in ways we do not understand. You refuse to surrender. You adapt to anything. You create solutions where none seem to exist. Perhaps one day we will meet. Perhaps one day you will come to us, or we will find the courage to come to you. When that day arrives, I hope you will forgive our fear. And I hope you will show us that you have learned what all advanced species must learn. That true strength is not in weapons or tactics, but in choosing peace when war is possible. He deleted the message. It was foolish sentiment, but deep in his heart Thelnos believed that one day humanity would join the galactic community. And he wondered if the galaxy would be welcoming them or asking for their help. Only time would tell. The colony ship Endeavour moved through space at speeds that would have seemed like magic to humans just 50 years ago. Captain Maria Chen stood on the bridge, watching the stars stream past. After 200 years of isolation, humanity was finally reaching beyond their solar system. "We're approaching the target coordinates," said Lieutenant Park from navigation. "Estimated arrival in 30 minutes. Maria felt her heart beat faster. They had detected something out here, something artificial. A space station, probably. If aliens had built it, this would be humanity's first real contact with another intelligent species since the Vrax invasion 8 centuries ago. "All hands to stations," Maria ordered. "Weapons cold but ready. Communications. Prepare the first contact package. Broadcast in all known languages." She had practiced this moment 1,000 times. What would she say? How would the aliens react? Humanity had prepared for this day since the Vrax had come. Every child grew up learning about the stars and the potential dangers they held, but also the opportunities. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Ensign Kowalski from sensors. "The station is powering down." "No, wait. It's not powering down, it's evacuating." "What?" "Ships are launching from the station, dozens of them. They're running." Maria moved to the sensor station and looked at the display herself. It was true. The alien station, which moments ago had been lit up with power signatures, was emptying. Ships of various sizes were fleeing in all directions, moving away from the Endeavour as fast as they could. Are we being jammed? Could they not receive our peaceful intent message? No jamming detected. The message is transmitting clearly. Then why are they running? Maria felt confusion and a growing sense of dread. Tactical. Do we show as hostile? Is there something about our ship they might interpret as aggressive? Lieutenant Vega checked her instruments. Negative. All weapons are cold. We're broadcasting on peaceful frequencies. By any standard first contact protocol, we should appear as friendly explorers. Maria made a decision. Slow to 1/4 speed. Broadcast the first contact message again. Emphasize that we come in peace and mean no harm. The Endeavour slowed. The message went out. The alien ships continued to flee. "Captain, the station is completely abandoned now," Kowalski reported. "It's just sitting there, dead in space." This was wrong. All wrong. First contact was not supposed to go like this. "Take us to the station, slowly. Scan for any remaining life signs." They approached carefully. The station was large, capable of housing thousands, but it was empty. Every being had evacuated. "I'm picking up active computer systems," said Ensign Reeves from communications. "The station's database is still online. Can you access it?" "Working on it. Their computer architecture is strange, but the principles are similar enough. I think I can—" He stopped. "Captain, I'm in. But there's something odd. The moment we approached, the station automatically opened its database to us, like it's trying to give us information." "What kind of information?" Reeves was quiet for a moment, reading. His face went pale. "Captain, you need to see this." Maria walked to his station. On the screen was text in dozens of languages, many of which the Endeavour's computers could translate. The files were labeled with one word in each language. In English it said, "Humanity." She felt cold. "Open it." The file was enormous. Thousands of pages. Historical records, tactical analyses, psychological profiles, threat assessments. Maria scrolled through in growing horror. The galaxy knew about them, had known about them for 800 years. Knew everything. Earth's location, humanity's history, the wars with the Vraks. Every radio broadcast humanity had sent into space for the past century had been intercepted and analyzed. They've been watching us, Maria whispered. This entire time, she found a section labeled Threat Assessment and opened it. The text was clinical and cold. Species, humanity. Homeworld, Earth, Sol system. Threat level, extreme. Quarantine status, active by consensus. Recommendation, avoid all contact. Do not approach Sol system under any circumstances. The document went on. It described how humans had destroyed the Vraks fleets, how they had adapted alien technology in days, how they had refused to surrender even when facing certain death. It described humanity's capacity for violence, creativity, and survival. But it also described humanity's internal conflicts, the wars humans fought among themselves, the weapons they had developed, the fact that they had nearly destroyed themselves, multiple times with nuclear weapons, environmental damage, and biological warfare. They think we're monsters, Lieutenant Park said quietly. He had been reading over Maria's shoulder. No, Maria said. Not monsters, something worse. They think we're dangerous, unpredictable, capable of anything when threatened. She found another file. This one was a debate record from something called the Galactic Council. The debate had happened only a year ago. A species called the Mindril had proposed making contact with humanity. The proposal had been overwhelmingly rejected. Maria read the arguments. Species after species explaining why humanity should remain isolated, citing the Vraks, citing fear, citing the need for caution. Captain, we need to report this to Earth, Lieutenant Vega said. Command needs to know. Maria nodded, but she was still reading. There was more. Recent surveillance reports. The galaxy had been monitoring Earth's radio and television broadcasts. They had analyzed human culture, human philosophy, human art. One report caught her attention. It was written by the same Mindrel ambassador who had proposed contact. It was his personal notes, never meant to be shared widely. I have studied the humans for 30 years, it read. They are not evil. They are not mindless killers. They are a young species struggling to understand their place in the universe. They tell themselves stories about aliens to prepare for what might come. They create art about hope and despair. They debate endlessly about right and wrong. They are capable of terrible violence, yes, but also of incredible compassion. They saved their own species from multiple extinction events through cooperation and sacrifice. They explore their own solar system not just for resources but out of curiosity and wonder. They dream of meeting other species peacefully. I believe that given the chance, humanity would be a valuable member of the galactic community. But I am alone in this belief. The galaxy has judged humanity based on their worst moments and their capacity for violence. We have forgotten that every species has such moments. We have forgotten that wisdom comes with time and experience. By isolating them, we may have made them more dangerous, not less. We have given them 800 years to prepare for our return. When they finally reach the stars on their own, will they come seeking friendship or revenge? Maria closed the file. She looked around the bridge at her crew. They were all reading, different parts of the database, all seeing the same truth. We've been alone not because we were too primitive, she said quietly. We've been alone because they were afraid of us. What do we do now? Park asked. It was the question that mattered. Humanity had just learned that the galaxy knew exactly where they were, that every species had agreed to avoid them, that Earth was seen as a threat, not as a potential friend. Maria thought about the Vraks, about how they had come to conquer and had been beaten back, about how humanity had learned from that encounter, built defenses, prepared for the next attack. We go home, she said. We take this information back to Earth, and we let humanity decide what to do with it. Should we try to make contact? Try to send a message to the Galactic Council? Vega asked. Maria considered it. Part of her wanted to tell the galaxy that they were wrong, that humans had changed, that they wanted peace. But another part of her was angry angry that the galaxy had watched them for 800 years and never offered help, never offered friendship, had just watched and judged and feared. "No," she said. "If they want to talk to us, they know where we are. They've always known. Let them come to us when they're ready." She ordered the ship to copy the entire database, everything the galaxy knew about humanity, every file, every report, every analysis. As the Endeavour turned toward home, Maria looked back at the abandoned station. She wondered how long it would take for the aliens to return, if they would return, or if they would just abandon this station entirely rather than risk being near where humans had been. The trip back to Earth took 3 months. During that time, Maria and her crew studied everything they had found. They learned about the galaxy's politics, about the hundreds of species that lived among the stars, about the Galactic Council and its rules, about the trade networks and the peaceful agreements, and about the one coordinate that every species avoided, the one system that was marked on every map as forbidden, Earth. When they reached home, Maria transmitted everything to Earth Command. Within hours, the news had spread across the entire planet. Humanity knew the truth. The galaxy knew where humans lived, and they kept far away. The United Nations Assembly was packed with representatives from every nation on Earth. Screens showed the faces of billions watching from around the world. Everyone wanted to hear what humanity would decide. Secretary General Amara Okonkwo stood at the podium. Behind her, massive displays showed the data that Captain Chen had brought back. Maps of the galaxy, lists of alien species, the threat assessment that labeled humanity as dangerous. 3 months ago we learned the truth, Amara said. We are not alone. We have never been alone, and the galaxy has been watching us for 800 years. The assembly was silent. This speech had been written and rewritten 100 times. Every word mattered. We have learned that we are feared, that species across the galaxy see us as a threat, that our home, our Earth, is marked as a place to avoid. This knowledge has stirred many emotions: anger, sadness, frustration, but also understanding. She paused. The galaxy judged us based on our response to invasion. When the Vracs came to conquer us, we fought back with everything we had. We adapted. We survived, we won, and in doing so, we terrified them. Some of you have asked why we should care what the galaxy thinks, why we should seek their approval. These are fair questions, but I believe we must ask ourselves a different question. What kind of species do we want to be? On the screens behind her, images appeared. Footage from the Vracs War, recovered from the database, then images of humanity's achievements. The first moon landing, the space stations, the colony on Mars, the science, art, and culture that humans had created. We have a choice, Amara continued. We can be the species the galaxy fears. We can prepare for conflict, build weapons, expand aggressively, prove that their fears were justified, or we can show them something they did not expect. We can show them that we have grown, that we have learned, that we are ready to be part of something larger than ourselves. A representative from the North American Union stood. With respect, Secretary General, why should we prove anything to them? They abandoned us. They watched us struggle and never offered help. Why should we seek their acceptance? It was the question many were asking. The anger was real and justified. Because isolation serves no one, Amara replied. Because there is a galaxy of knowledge, culture, and possibilities out there. Because we are explorers at heart and we want to see what lies beyond our little corner of space. And because anger, while justified, is not a strategy. It is an emotion. We must choose our path based on wisdom, not rage. The debate lasted for days. Some nations wanted to send an immediate message to the Galactic Council, offering peace. Others wanted to build a fleet and show the galaxy that humanity could not be ignored. Still others wanted to simply continue exploring on their own terms, ignoring the galaxy's opinion entirely. While Earth debated, something was happening in deep space. Something that would change everything. The warning came from the deep space sensor network that humanity had built after learning about the galaxy. Strange signals, ships entering the galaxy from beyond its edge. Thousands of ships, moving fast, not slowing down. The first alien systems to encounter these ships sent distress signals, then went silent. Within a week, the Galactic Council knew they were facing an invasion, an enemy from outside the galaxy, a species that did not communicate, did not negotiate. They simply attacked and destroyed everything in their path. The Council's defense fleets engaged the enemy and were overwhelmed. The invaders had technology that outmatched anything the galaxy possessed. Weapons that shredded shields, ships that regenerated damage, tactics that seemed designed specifically to counter the galaxy's defensive doctrines. The Galactic Council sent emergency transmissions to all member species. Full mobilization, all defensive protocols active, all available ships to rally points. They did not send a transmission to Earth. The quarantine held even in crisis. But humans were listening. They had been monitoring galactic communications since Captain Chen's return. They saw the invasion, saw the Council's fleets being destroyed, saw the panic spreading across alien worlds. The debate on Earth ended. There was nothing left to debate. Ambassador Thelnos sat in his office on the Council station, looking at reports of the invasion. 3 more systems lost, billions of lives. The defense fleets were in retreat. At the current rate, the invaders would reach the core worlds within a month. His door opened. His assistant entered, looking shaken. "Ambassador, there is a transmission coming in." "From Sol's system." Thelnos felt his heart stop. "From the humans?" "Yes, sir. They are requesting permission to address the Galactic Council. Immediately." The council chamber had never been so full. Every representative was present, even those who normally attended remotely. They all knew what this meant. After 800 years, humanity was breaking their silence. The holographic display activated. A human woman appeared. She was older, with short gray hair and eyes that held both compassion and steel. Thelnos recognized her from the database. Secretary General Amara Okonkwo, the leader of Earth's United Nations. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," Amara said. "I am Amara Okonkwo, speaking on behalf of humanity. We know you did not invite this contact. We know you have avoided us for 800 years. We know you fear us." The chamber was absolutely silent. "We have been monitoring your situation. We know about the invasion. We know your fleets are losing. We know billions of lives are at stake." She paused. "We are offering our help." Representative Korm stood. "Why would you help us? We have isolated you, judged you, feared you." "Because it is the right thing to do," Amara said simply. "Because you are facing an enemy that threatens everything you have built. And because despite our differences, we are all living beings trying to survive in a dangerous universe." "You want something in return," Korm said. "An end to the quarantine, recognition, a seat on the council." "We want peace," Amara corrected. "A genuine peace based on mutual respect. But that is a discussion for after the crisis. Right now your people are dying. We can help. The question is, will you let us?" Elder Sirik stood. "What could you possibly offer that our combined fleets cannot provide?" "Experience," Amara said. "You have built your defenses around the idea of peace. Your weapons are designed for deterrence. Your tactics assume rational enemies who can be negotiated with. This enemy does not negotiate. They simply attack. But we have fought such enemies before." She pulled up tactical data. "We have analyzed the invasion patterns. The enemy ships adapt to your weapons, yes. But their adaptation follows predictable patterns. They expect you to fight like you do, with organized fleets, with standard formations, with predictable strategies. We fight differently. We improvise. We use unconventional tactics. We treat war not as a set of rules to follow, but as a problem to solve creatively. We have spent 800 years preparing for the day someone might attack us again. We know how to fight enemies who seem unbeatable." Thelnos felt hope for the first time in weeks. "What do you propose?" "A joint task force," Amara said. "Human tactical advisors working with your fleet commanders. Human strategists analyzing the enemy and developing new approaches. Human ships, yes, but integrated into your forces. We do not want to lead. We want to help." The council erupted in debate. The arguments raged for hours. Some species refused to trust humans. Others were desperate enough to try anything. Some pointed out that inviting humans to the war might be inviting something worse than the invasion itself. Finally, the speaker called for a vote. "All in favor of accepting humanity's assistance?" This time the vote was different. Species that had voted against contact just months ago now voted in favor, not out of trust but out of necessity. The motion passed. Within a week, human ships arrived at the rally points. They were smaller than the galactic vessels, built from a combination of human innovation and reverse-engineered alien technology. They looked strange and dangerous. More importantly, human advisors came. Military strategists, tactical analysts, creative thinkers who looked at the invasion data and saw patterns the galactic forces had missed. Captain Maria Chen commanded the human contingent. She met with the Galactic Fleet admirals and she brought a simple message. We are not here to show you up. We are not here to prove we are superior. We are here because you need help and we can provide it. Let us show you how humans fight when fighting is necessary. The first joint engagement happened at the Krell system. The invaders had destroyed 2 defensive fleets already. A third fleet was preparing for what everyone expected would be another defeat. Then the humans arrived with their plan. It was not like anything the galactic forces had tried. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, they scattered. Small groups of ships that moved independently, attacked from unexpected angles, used the enemy's own tactics against them. When the invaders adapted to one strategy, the humans switched to another. They were unpredictable, creative, relentless. And they taught the galactic forces to do the same. The Battle of Krell system was not an easy victory. Ships were lost. Lives were sacrificed. But for the first time since the invasion began, the enemy was stopped. Not just slowed, stopped. More battles followed. Each one different. Each one a learning experience. The humans taught the galactic forces to think like survivors instead of soldiers.